Hey everyone, John Henry here, slingshotfutures.com, and welcome to the Daily Futures and Forex Outlook, where we take a look at our big six markets and make a plan for tomorrow's trading. Now, the main purpose of this is to be as prepared as possible, but I say that kind of tongue-in-cheek today because tomorrow could be a little bit of a wild one. So let's jump right in here. First of all, the reason I say a wild one, if we look at the news slotted for tomorrow, we've got some big things to keep an eye on, right? Not only do we have some of pretty large British pound news coming out at both 4:30 and 7:15, but notice right around, 2 o'clock right there, FOMC economic projections. That's going to be a big one. We have the FOMC statement, we have the Fed interest rate decisions, we have the FOMC press conference, the economic projections, everything tomorrow can be a little bit crazy. So the one thing that you really need to keep an eye on, especially going into tomorrow's trading, is either one of two scenarios. The first one, either it's going to be really slow because everybody is waiting for the news and they don't really want to put the money on the table before that, or it's going to be really volatile. They're trying to get those bets in before the news comes out, which can cause a lot of chop and slop and just generally a lot of whip. So either way, we need to be very careful for tomorrow's trading. Now, looking at the overall movement that we have so far, gold relatively stagnant, right? We have a bearish move working its way down, but that's really about it. And for that, I mean, for the most part, we've had a lot of range environment here. Now, when it comes to the overall back and forth, we do have a downward bias. That's pretty obvious. But with this big high side failure, the buyers tried getting that run higher and they just could not hang on to it and dropped it all the way down to the bottom. But then when they got to the bottom, they found a huge amount of buy inventory and we haven't been able to break lower. So now we're just sort of pinging back and forth between the 62.1, 61.3. down to the lows of 57.4 to 56.3. We're just kind of bouncing back and forth. There is a possibility of rising support underneath us, but when you're in a range, generally speaking, those levels only hold for so long before they start going back into the range type sentiment. So for tomorrow, I would rather be looking to sell high, given the fact that we have a downward bias in pretty much every side of things, the daily, the 60-minute, etc. We have a nice bearish trend going, but the overall momentum that we have right now, with a downside bias in the range, I would rather see a trap above that 62.1 area and then look for a fade to the downside. And likewise, if we do get a move lower, looking to buy at that lower edge around 56.3 for a rise back up makes a lot of sense. Looking at crude oil, we just had the API report come out, and that shoved the market right down into a major area of support between 52.47 and 52.35. Now, the big area that just showed up on the chart right there, right? The high of this news candle down to the low of this news candle, that big area is going to play a large part, maybe, tomorrow. And I say maybe as long as we stay around this area. So the API support and resistance for tomorrow is at 52.88 down to 52.45. We're also resting inside a major area of support between 52.47 and 52.35. Now, one common trend here, right? Let's zoom out a little bit and just take a look at what's going on at the highs. Notice a lot of red blocks up here. There is a huge amount of sell inventory above us where every single time the market tried to make a high, it was dumped right back down again. Tried to push up, huge orders shoving it back down. We came back again, huge orders shoving it back down. So there's a lot of sell pressure above us. If the market does decide to take a turn higher, that's going to be the area where you're looking to find some selling pressure. Now, the overall downside movement that we're getting right now between 52.45 and 52.35 is news driven. So this supply that we may have down here for buyers to try to come in on, it's going to be a little bit tough. They may try to head fake underneath it and then push back up just due to the news move itself. Either way, though, kind of a range sentiment overall. Looking to buy low, looking to sell high, but playing it a little bit cautious after this news announcement for the API. And then finally, looking at the Dow had an absolute rocket ship day today. Very, very bullish momentum to the upside. Strong breakout right at the 9:30 open, and it never really stopped. Had a quick little snapback, and that's the only pullback that they really had today before continuing that bullish trend right back up. We have a very large area of support between 19,840 to 19,850, but there's a little bit of an issue. Up at the top, we have a big area where the buyers just went a little too far. They did too much too fast, right? They overshot the highs, and generally speaking, when that occurs, you're looking for the same type of movement on the other end. So you have a blast through the highs by about that distance, looks like about 20 ticks. So by the time we get to the lows, you're looking for about the same thing before looking for the correction. It's the same thing that happened yesterday on the markets as well. We're seeing it again. The buyers are very aggressive on this Santa Claus rally, as they say, going into the end of the year here. And man, they're no joke. Every single time we get any pullback, the buyers just slam it right back up again. So we have to be buyers, but I would rather wait for this to kind of get out of its system and then look to buy for that move back up towards the highs. Tomorrow might just be a range, and who knows? You know, maybe that big FOMC news can throw it on its head. Either way, though, need to be a little bit patient on the Dow for right now. Now, switching gears over to the Forex side of things, we're just now on the Euro-USD cycling off of a major area of support. Now, that major area of support is between 61.92 and 61.34, and every single time the sellers have come down in this area, it either got really nasty or they had a big rejection. And that's really what we're looking for here. They had a huge drive down, and it stopped dead in its tracks right in that area again. And again, and now again, right? So we're looking for the buyers to want to try to take this. This does appear to be, you know, a little bit of a wedge. We had a big, strong burst and a shaky pullback. Big, strong burst, shaky pullback. Big, strong burst, and now the full-blown reversal. Chances are, if we do get a move higher, you're going to find sellers above us now, assuming that the high side has failed, and they're looking to do the same, or at least attempt to do the same on the other edge. So I would rather be a seller right now, but we have a huge area of support between that 92 and 34 area that we can't really play around with until we get through it. So what I would like to see is be a short-term buyer now, but if we can get a nice little trap above the highs, maybe an even better move back up towards those highs where we found all of that resistance across there, and then look for a selling opportunity back down. If we can break through this area with at least a little bit of distance, then we can start to look to sell that retrace back into it. But for right now, the buyers own it and they're supporting it, so we have to let them do their thing until they're out of the way. Then on over to the pound dollar. The pound dollar, very range bound as well. High side, major failures, right? They had a little bit of a wedge up on top here, and when that thing broke, it didn't stop. It just kept falling and falling and falling. Just a massive dump through the lows, all in one shot. Now, a lot of times when you get that kind of move, you expect to see a second leg to it because a lot of people will have missed that. They're going to pile on board to try to catch that second move, and that's what we had. It just took forever for it to finally get back down to that low. Now that we've made it back down to the low, what happened? Well, we dipped underneath that major area of support between 594 and 656, and now they're trying to pop right back up again. So even though we did crack the shell of that support area, doesn't quite look like they're done yet. So until we get some clear distance here, I would rather wait to be a seller and more likely to be a buyer right now to try to get at least a short-term correction. We're still bearish overall because of this massive drive lower, but that being said, you know, I don't want to sell way down here. I want to sell trap highs, major areas of selling inventory, right? I want to find those areas to be a seller in rather than all the way down here. And then finally, on the dollar yen is getting more and more range bound today. We started off with a really nice range, nice bullish momentum to the upside, and once that broke down, they just went really nasty inside here. We've been forming a lot of sell inventory and buy inventory on both sides, and until they're out of the way, we're going to have a really hard time getting some movement. So on the highs, we're treating it like a range, and on the lows, we're treating it like a range. We're looking to buy low, looking to sell high. 353 to 295 is the high area. And then on the bottom edge, you've got a little bit of playroom, right? 115.093 to 056 is the first area, which appears as though they're trying to hold it as support. If that cracks, then you're looking for 18 to 977. And if that cracks, you're looking for 945 to 914. And if they can break through all of those, then you have some downside potential to finish off that drive to the low of the day. But for right now, we have to treat it as a range, buy low and sell high. So that's going to do it for today. Make sure to play it safe tomorrow. That big news can get really nasty, and it will not hesitate to rip your face off if you're on the wrong side of it. So make sure to make that plan, trade the plan, follow the rules as to the T tomorrow. Again, it can be a little bit dangerous. I can't say that enough. Outside of that, though, enjoy the rest of the day, everyone, and we will see you all tomorrow.